All right, welcome to One-on-One. I'm Martin Falls, very pleased to have Miss Bernadette Pickett. She is going to be our guest today on One-on-One, and it's such a great history. And we're going to sort of overlook the fact that she's married to a sitting judge in Terrebonne Parish, because if the truth be known, I'd rather interview her. So that'll produce a few chuckles from her husband. We'll take a break. When we come back, Miss Bernadette Pickett. One-on-One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer. And welcome back to One-on-One. As promised, my guest today is Ms. Bernadette Pickett. So many roles at the District Attorney's Office as an ADA, dealing with juveniles and dealing with children's advocacy, the executive director of the Children's Advocacy Center here in Terrebonne Parish. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
What a great career. I think, 27 years?
27 years in October.
In the District Attorney's Office, and the things that you have brought to the table for both Doug Greenberg and Joe Waits are incredible. But I don't want to start there. Let's go way back.
Okay.
What's the earliest years you can remember, and paint a picture for me if you could?
Oh my gosh. I was born here in Houma at Terrebonne General.
Okay.
My parents lived in Reserve, Louisiana, and then to the big city of Laplace.
Wow.
My mom's a Houma girl, so she was here visiting her parents, and I decided to come early. So that's how I was born at Terrebonne General. My parents met when my dad left the little town of Reserve to come to Houma to play football for St. Lucie. Okay. And that's how my parents met. So my earliest memory is being here in Houma, excuse me, as a little girl with my grandparents all the time, and hanging out with all of my cousins, and I just have great memories of my childhood.
So the lineage is, I know your maiden name was Robinette.
Yes, and my mom is Robin's son.
That's a large family.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's just a lot of, I bet the family reunions were fun.
Well, I have 18 first cousins, and the first cousins get together once a year, so that's a dynamic in and of itself.
Let's start with the schooling, first of all, because obviously schools influence people a lot on where they're going to be, but of course personalities override that sometimes. Where'd you go to school? Where'd you start school?
I started school in Reserve, Louisiana at St. Peter's Catholic School. Then I went to high school in St. Charles in Laplace, St. Charles Catholic in Laplace, Louisiana, not in St. Charles Parish. It had moved to St. John Parish by the time I got to high school. Then I went to Xavier University in New Orleans. And then I went to the University of New Orleans to work on my master's and did not like it. And went back to my first dream of going to law school and went to Southern University's Law Center in Baton Rouge.
Some people tell me on this show, well, I knew in the 5th grade. Other people said, I didn't know till I was graduating from high school. When did you know that law was an interest that you might have?
Well, I guess at a young age, my mother always told me she hoped my big mouth would make me some money someday. And then I met a judge by the name of Mary Becknell. Mary Becknell was not a judge at the time. She was a lawyer, married to a guy by the name of Danny Becknell. And Danny was running for DA in St. John. And he was friends with my dad, and Daddy had a get-together at our house. And then comes Mary in her red suit and her high heel shoes and her gorgeous briefcase. And I said, I think I want to do that. And when I looked into it, I realized I really did. So I was about 12.
So I want to go back to the comment you just made that your mama said she wanted your big mouth to make you some money. Were you the loud one in the family?
Well, I'm the middle child. I have 2 older sisters and 2 younger sisters, so I had to do something to be seen, huh?
Yeah, you wanted some attention, right?
Right.
But tell me about what was the family dynamics like? How did it shape you?
Oh, you know, my dad had 5 girls.
Yeah.
And Daddy was
God bless him.
Daddy was a football coach by profession. My mom was a nurse who didn't work because she had 5 kids to raise. Yeah. Then Daddy became a principal, but Daddy raised his girls to think they could do anything they put their minds to, and he raised 5 tough girls, huh?
Well, obviously he did a pretty good job because you have excelled in what you have done. When did you, when you get out of law school, that's one thing.
Okay.
Everybody gets that piece of paper and boy, they're ready to conquer the world. But then you got to put it to work. You got to go get a job. You got to practice law. You got to do a few things. Where did you start?
Well, the story goes that I met Juan in law school. Okay, Juan came from Virginia to come to Southern. So we're engaged, we're going to graduate, we're going to Virginia. He tells me one day, if I can find a job in Louisiana, I'll stay. So guess what? I found him a job first. So luckily, my uncle, one of the Robinson boys, Lawrence, was personnel director here for the parish.
Right.
So I asked Lawrence if he knew anybody, and he said, I know Mr. Greenberg, but I can't make any promises. I can try to get you an interview. So luckily, Juan got an interview with Kevin Guidry in the DA's office, and then that went into Mr. Greenberg's office, and Juan's such a sweetheart, right? They hired him on the spot.
Wow. So Zoe.
Yes.
Yeah, Lawrence goes by Zoe.
Right, so he reminds us that all the time. That
by the way, before we get into the ascension of the career, you mentioned Zoe. He was the first black member of Hercules.
That's correct.
And he was a king.
That's right.
Now, let's fast forward a few years because, correct me if I'm wrong, Jessica, your daughter, was the first black maid in the crew of Homer.
That's correct.
Y'all family has been groundbreakers for a long time, right?
Well, we're just blessed and happy to be here and glad to be part of such a great community.
And I'm so glad that barrier was broken because y'all have added so much to the community. And of course, Jessica, beautiful daughter.
Gianna.
Gianna, the granddaughter now, right?
That's right.
And I see you beaming when you talk about yeah, and what a beautiful picture you showed me. We're going to get that to put on the show.
Oh, my goodness.
So she could have a little celebrityism herself. For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. So what was it like when you found out that now a judge here in Terrebonne Parish, but before he was a judge, found out he got a job?
Well, I mean, it was great. We're all in school, and you're right. You get that degree, and then you say, now what? So Juan was blessed. Juan interviewed with Mr. Greenberg right before the bar exam. So we took the bar exam on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that following Monday, Juan started in the DA's office. So Mr. Greenberg told him, you're here until you pass the bar exam, or you have to pass the bar exam. So we found out results in October and passed the bar exam, and 29 years later, we're still here.
Was that a nervous time when he took the bar exam? I mean, I'm sure he knew he was going to pass.
Okay, I'll tell this story, and he will hate me for telling this story.
Please tell it.
Juan was just a good student, okay? Yeah. And, I think I said on your show the other day when I was here for something that Juan got through law school on brains and I got through on prayers, okay? So we're taking the bar exam, and the last section, you have 9 sections of the bar exam. You have to pass 7 to pass the bar exam. Certain ones, code articles you had to pass. And then there was other stuff like constitutional law and this, that, and other. So we're getting ready to take the last section of the bar exam, and myself and John Waits, we're going one way and Juan's going another. I said, Juan, where are you going? He said, I'm done. I've passed already. So Juan spotted a section of the bar exam. Now, he will hate me for telling that story, and he has said that was crazy to do, but he did it, and he was comfortable with it, and everybody told him it was crazy when he did it, but he passed the bar exam, and rest is history.
Do what you got to do, right?
Rest is history.
No doubt. So y'all made a living, but I say not just making a living from the DA's office, y'all provided a great service to the DA's office. Did you ever think, as you morphed into your job, that one day you'd be in charge of juveniles and you'd be in charge of children's advocacy? Did Was that ever an inkling, or was that a love you had?
I mean, I've always loved, I guess, kids. I started my career in Laplace, working for Joe Accordo, who was a state representative and, of course, an attorney by profession. And then Juan and I get married in December of 1993, just months after we graduated. And I was driving from Houma, now back to Laplace. And in late 1994, when Judge Walker won, he asked Juan if he thought I wanted to be his law clerk. So I became Judge Walker's first law clerk early 1995. Mm-hmm. And I did that until the end of 95 when an opening was available in the DA's office and Mr. Greenberg hired me. So you take these jobs wanting to do your best and happy that you have the job and happy to be close to home, and you really get into it and you realize this is what maybe that you're meant to do. Mm-hmm. And then we were blessed that Mr. Waits kept us after, Mr. Greenberg's time was up. But, but for Mr. Greenberg hiring Juan on the spot, who knows where we'd be.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But then you continue to work for Mr. Waits, and he obviously moved you in areas that you became pretty doggone good at it. So he must have seen something in you.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I'm not sure what he saw other than maybe my big mouth. And, I was at city court when Mr. Waits took over. I was doing juveniles and adults in city court, and I was handling some child support. And one day, Mr. Guidry, the office administrator, called me in his office, and he said, we're looking to bring drug court into Terrebonne Parish. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay. He said, we need a prosecutor to follow us around, to go on all these trips with us, to help write grants, to give feedback, to be part of the drug court team. You want to do it? I said, whatever you need me to do. So we started traveling, San Diego, Los Angeles. It sounds great, but we had homework. I hadn't had homework in a long time. Mm-hmm. So we did that, and things just kind of grew and changed in my life. I loved drug court. I enjoyed doing drug court. I did that for about 10 years, working with Judge Walker. And things just kind of changed. When I went out on maternity leave back in 1998, someone new was coming in, so they put that person at city court to take over prosecuting juveniles. And when I came back from maternity leave, I in turn took over the advocacy center, and the rest
How was that working with your husband at the district attorney's office? Did y'all see each other a lot, or when you get home, did you advise each other?
No, when I first started, of course, I'm the new prosecutor on the block. Mr. Greenberg tells Juan, look after her, make sure she's okay. Well, we know Juan can't sit still too long, right? So I'm in the middle of a DWI trial, and you have certain things you have to introduce as evidence. And I'm holding the things in my hands, and I kind of freeze, and I turn around, and Juan's going. So, so you just hit the ground running, and then you go. And no, it was okay. At one point, we shared an office when they were redoing some offices, and it was just that we throw things on the desk, but you're in court a lot, and so it really wasn't. It wasn't bad, and I guess we had the same profession, so we knew what was going on. So we'd get home, and we really didn't talk much about cases.
Right. You just enjoyed life.
Yeah.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits & Downer Law Firm.
As you progressed through the DA's office and you saw the benefits of being involved in drug court and different things, because I was familiar because my cousin in Lafourche, Thad Toops, was also involved
Very good.
in drug court. Mm-hmm. And he would always tell me the benefits were, when you're assistant DA and you're in court, you do see a lot of bad. But you see a lot of good in drug court too, don't you?
You see a lot of great things in drug court. We were in Los Angeles, and we had just seen a drug court graduation, which we didn't even know what that was at the point. And this lady got up and told of being reunited with her kids. Child protection had taken her kids from her, and a couple of years had passed since she had really been involved in their lives. They started working her case plan. Drug court helped her do that, and she got her kids back. And, you know, it just melted your heart. You know, even though an old girl like me, it melted my heart and made me realize that we're here to help protect the community. Public safety is our #1 goal, making sure we put bad people away. But sometimes good people do bad things and make wrong decisions, and if we can help them, I think that's what it's all about. And if we were in the position to do that, and the opportunity came for a district attorney's office to have a social program like that to help people who took the wrong path, it was worth our while to do it.
How do you balance those things, Bernadette? Because obviously, once again, you see a lot of bad things that come through court. Mm-hmm. But children's advocacy or drug court, you see the extreme bad side, but then you see the extreme good side. There's got to be some equilibrium somewhere. How do you find it?
You know, and I think some of it comes with guts. Some of it comes, you know, talking to your coworkers and knowing what cases to really move to help along. You know, I tell the story, I'm so old, when we first started drug court, there was nothing in the code about drug court. You know, Judge Walker and myself and Kevin Guidry, Mr. Waits, Tony Champagne with Indigent Defenders Board, we just kind of followed the federal guidelines and made it up here as we went along. And to see everybody work together for that good cause, you know, made it worthwhile. And you ask how you balance it. I mean, you have guidelines. You look at a rap sheet and you realize that this person had petty thefts or crazy things that we would call drug-driven crimes. You know, they weren't dealers, they weren't violent offenders. So you have your rap sheet, you have some gut instincts, and then you have your colleagues to help you along the way.
And then you talk to the person.
Absolutely. You know, the problem is when you have a felony case, you really can't talk to that person. Mm-hmm. So what happened is that Mr. Champagne, as we're creating these documents, allowed our drug court team that you had to put together of counselors to go in and interview the person even in jail. The prosecutor really couldn't talk to the person until they signed on for drug court. You know, so it was a process, and you're right. The drug court team would come back and tell you this person's a great candidate, you know, listening to their story. They were 13 when they started, or they fell and they broke their back, and this is how they got hooked on drugs or something like that. And it's always the ones that you really feel you can help that you take and you move them along.
But it's so sort of the team going to the other side's attorney, and so that builds bridges.
Yes,
right? So,
yes.
So you got to bond with the other side.
Yes, yes. Oh, you know.
People skills.
And one of my greatest memories is traveling with Mr. Champagne, you know, who's been with the Indigent Defenders Board for years. And, you know, I learned a lot from him. You know, I don't guess he wanted me to say he was a seasoned attorney when I came along, you know, but he taught me a lot as well. And, you know, how to work with people and help people and see the good in people.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.